right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm quite thrilled, as I am with every session, I'm sure, to be sharing the stage with these fantastic speakers. Our first speaker, folks, Pip Marlow is Managing Director, Microsoft Australia. Pip has a long history in the IT industry, having worked in the US with Microsoft for 8 years before returning to Australia. But before joining Microsoft, she was part of the founding team at Agate Technology, which became one of Australia's largest storage distributors. Goodbye to command and control, how to successfully manage disruption. Please put your hands together for Pip Marlow.
I'll wait for my slide to come up, if you won't mind. I'll let you guys do that and I'll start. Imagine what it would look like for you if you were in the top job in your company or in your organisation. What would that look like? Let me take you back to 2011. I was appointed the Managing Director of Microsoft Australia, and I was feeling proud and I was feeling excited. And just between you and me, I was feeling pretty damn nervous as well. It's a big job. And you know what my world looked like? I had an office. It's beautiful. It was a big one, the corner office, the big desk. I had my own boardroom table in it. That was a symbol of hierarchy in our organisation, something that I thought we all aspired for at Microsoft. But I knew that something was missing. I looked at my days, and it was filled with everybody coming to my office for a meeting. My interactions with people were defined by running into you in the boardroom or the bathroom, and the second was not necessarily a high-value interaction, as you can imagine. I definitely was a girl living in a bubble. My world was very narrow. Yet I knew outside the bubble, things were going on and things were happening, and I wasn't connected to it. And there was a great quote from Jack Welch, and he said, if the rate of change outside your organisation is faster than the rate of the change inside your organisation, the end is near. And I knew I had to burst that bubble. So now, fast forward. I don't have an office. In fact, I don't even have a desk. Nobody at Microsoft in Australia does. Because we've built a new model and a new culture that is based on a very, very simple philosophy. And that philosophy is, work is a thing that you do, not a place you go. And so now I situate myself, I put myself in the place where the activity needs to occur. I might be doing brainstorming. So we're sitting on a couch. No, not beanbags, they're tough to get out of. But I sit on a couch in a room and we talk. We might want a meeting with a round table because we want that type of collaborative dialogue. We might have a more formal, meeting room when we need it. I might have a quiet chat room if I need to have a one-on-one with somebody. But I'm not restricted by the four walls of my office. Sometimes I'm working from a cafe, sometimes from a customer's office. Sometimes it has been known that I'm working from the car at the car park of my children's school. You will find me there on occasions. But that reality that I enjoy, that's not the reality for most people. That's not the work experience that most people have. And I wonder why. So many offices, so many workplaces look quite like they did 10, 20, 30 years ago, when the work that we're asking people to do and the way we're asking them to do it has changed. Why is that? I have two philosophies in why this is for me. The first is organisations, and yes, even at Microsoft, people were holding on to heritage and hierarchy. The organisations that were built and the things that were done that got you to where you are. Organisations are holding on to that. Yet instead, there is an opportunity to tap into the networks, to build in and tap into the wisdom of crowds. And the second area I think is really holding people back is that organizations are focused on input, activity, versus outputs and trust. And when you change your culture and you change the way you think, I think great things can happen. So I'm curious, how do you guys think? How does your organization think? What is rewarded and valued there? And so right now, in the privacy of your own mind, I'd like you to answer these questions. If your employee or your teammate is not sitting at their desk at 9 a.m. in the morning, do you think they're skiving off? Do you wonder what they're doing? Are they being productive? How is performance judged by you or your organization? Does the person who works the longest hours get the biggest reward? Is it the activity that is rewarded or the output and the impact? What drives that in your organization? And lastly, when somebody speaks up with an idea, be they on the shop floor, on the manufacturing line, are their words, are what they're saying as valuable as what comes out of a manager, an executive, a senior person in the organization? And I think the answer to those questions helps you understand where you are on that cultural journey, where your organization is in that cultural journey. And when we made our change at Microsoft, the easiest part of the change was doing a refurb and creating new workspaces, putting in the technology to help them do their job. That was the easiest part of the cultural change that we had to do. The hardest part by far was the cultural work. But when you get that right, I really believe that that's the secret sauce. That's when the magic happens. That's when you can tap into the creativity and the smarts of your people that allows them to work differently and to disrupt in a way that best suits them and can work for you as well. And I think that the organizations that embrace that new way of work, they're the ones that can be the petri dish of innovation. And there's some great examples about companies around the world doing incredible things to tear down the hierarchies, to tear down the walls and do things differently. Most of you will know of the company called Zara, Spanish fashion company. Zara are consistently outperforming their competitors. What's their secret sauce? They have torn away organizational structures, and they're constantly forming and reforming teams in order to go after the latest fashion. They tap into 350 designers around the world. One week I could be working on winter cocktail, and the next week I could be working on summer casual. And the timeline from ideation to shop floor is down to 4 weeks at Zara, and then 4 weeks on the shop floor. And in fact, because they don't always get it right, if the sales aren't right at week 1, they pull those items off the floor to make space for new lines. They have changed the way they design, they have changed the way they collaborate in order to get a competitive edge. And that type of innovation and that type of agile working, it can't just be the province of the big organizations. It's got to be there for small businesses as well. And one that's close to my heart is an Aussie business called Rode Microphone. Peter Friedman, an entrepreneur who almost went broke on a number of occasions and has great perseverance and leadership, now runs and owns one of the leading advanced microphone manufacturing companies in the world, manufacturing actually in the western suburbs of Sydney. And Peter, I think, role models 2 incredible traits of people who get disruption and innovation. Peter demands that every employee in Rode gives feedback, contributes to the ongoing performance of the business, and comes up with new ideas. And that includes the men and women on the manufacturing line. The voice of every employee is valued and given a forum to be heard at that company. Peter also does something that I've seen work really well at Microsoft. When we tore down the walls, one of the great things that occurred was suddenly I was sitting next to anybody. I was meeting people in the company I hadn't met before. I was listening and finding out different challenges. Good news always travels fast, but bad news not so fast. Tearing down the walls allowed for that. And I say we got the magic of the bump factor when we did that. What Peter does is he takes that and goes external with it. He puts himself in the way of entrepreneurs and innovators in other sectors just to see what's possible, just to see if magic can happen. And if you speak to Peter like I have, a lot of magic has occurred from those bumps and those connections. He is a great model, I think, for his employees and staff, but I think he's also a great role model for us. I think the future depends on our ability to disrupt ourselves. If we don't, for sure our competitors will, and I know because we've experienced that in our own organisation. And so here's what I've discovered over the last few years in this disruptive time, and certainly the way of work that I shared with you is disruptive, but it is only just one form of disruption. And I think there are three things that I've learned through that process. First, it's incumbent on us as leaders, and frankly we are all leaders, to create a culture where it's okay for people to fail. Failure is just a great learning opportunity. And I say to the team, fail fast, frequently, and frugally. That will allow us to keep going on that innovation agenda. There's a great company in Sydney called Style Runner. It's run by two twins, Sally and Julie. They have really embraced this aspect into their organisation. And what they do is they encourage their staff to push their systems, push their processes until the point of breaking them. Because when they break them, that's the opportunity to build them up stronger and better than before. Failure there is an expectation, a badge of honour and of learning, not of not succeeding. The next one is you've got to make sure good ideas get noticed. Everybody in the organisation can have great ideas. As a company I got to know recently called Import, they've created a 3D scanning business which scans your body, creates an avatar, and helps you buy clothes that fit you perfectly, which I can absolutely do with some help with. What they did was create a forum for their employees. Every employee is supposed to turn up once a month for the employee innovation time, when they talk about what do they do to disrupt themselves and grow, not incrementally as you heard before, but where else could they go and what can they do. Their product's being rolled out in every Westfield in the country, and now they've got new workloads in healthcare and fitness coming out of those employee innovation centres, all from just people across the business, not from the management team. And I think the last thing we need to do here is we've really got to think about our talent. Talent is different in the new world, and the days of rewarding tenure with a gold watch are gone. It's not tenure that's most important, it is impact. It is output. And we've got to create the workplaces that attract people that want to make that impact and retain them with the right methods and the right rewards. Since I burst that bubble, I would say, back in 2011, it has made me think more about being disruptive and what that means. And what it's clear to me is there is one simple must-have. It is the culture. And culture always comes from leaders. And as you heard from the panel before, it is not easy, not in this super connected, super fast world. In fact, in some ways that can make it even harder. But disruption and innovation is coming wave after wave. And we all know that if you don't notice that wave coming behind you, you get flattened by it. And the recovery time can be long, and you can miss the next few waves. But great organisations and great people are always on the lookout for the next wave. Organisations like Zara and Style Runner and Rode, they have disrupted themselves, they've disrupted their markets, and they've continued to catch wave after wave. I invite you to disrupt and join them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pip.